Welcome to NFL Talk. This week we're looking at a big game for the Dallas Cowboys as they get ready to play the Houston Texans. It's on Monday Night Football, and there are a lot of people talking about CeeDee Lamb's back injury and how it could affect their chances.
Yeah, it's definitely something to worry about. Lamb is really important to their offense, especially with Dak Prescott out for the season. His ability to get open and make those big catches is really important.
And with the Cowboys at a tough 3-6, this game feels like they have to win to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Totally. A loss here would put them in a really bad spot. But even if Lamb plays, it's worth thinking about how effective he'll be. Problem, it could limit his explosiveness and route running, and that could really hurt the entire Cowboys offense game plan.
That's a good point. We've seen him put up some really impressive numbers this season. 59 receptions, 681 yards, and 4 touchdowns. But can he do that again if he's not at 100%?
That's the big question. The Cowboys need him to be a threat, especially considering Cooper Rush's recent struggles. His performance against the Eagles last week was especially concerning, only 45 passing yards. That raises serious doubts about whether he can really lead the offense.
Right. And that Eagles defensive line is kind of similar to the Texans.
Yeah.
Which isn't good if Rush can't handle that kind of pressure. How do you see the Texans approaching this matchup, especially on defense?
They'll probably try to take advantage of the Cowboys' weaknesses, particularly their reliance on Lamb. I expect to see them double-teaming him and forcing Rush to look for someone else to throw to. The Texans have a 4-3 defensive scheme that's had some trouble with outside runs, so the Cowboys might try to establish the run early to open up play-action rush.
That makes sense. It seems like the Cowboys will need to do well on offense overall to beat these challenges. How important is a win here for Dallas in the bigger picture of their season?
This game could be a turning point. A win could give them some much-needed confidence and momentum and keep those small playoff hopes alive. But a loss would be really bad. It would make it super hard for them to recover in this.
So there's a lot at stake for the Cowboys. But what about the Texans? They're out of the playoffs, so what are they playing for in this?
Pride is a big motivator. They want to prove they can compete with a team like the Cowboys. Even on the road, in the tough environment of AT&T. Playing in Dallas is hard. With those crazy fans and their reputation for being loud and hostile.
It's definitely not an easy place to play for opposing teams. What do you think will be the key to victory for the Cowboys if they want to win this game?
Their defense needs to step up and play really well. They need to put pressure on the Texans' quarterback, force turnovers, and create problems in the backfield. Micah Parsons will be important. He's a game changer on defense, and his ability to mess up plays could decide the game.
It sounds like the Cowboys' defense will need to do a lot, especially if Lamb isn't fully healthy. But even with a good defensive performance, can they count on Cooper Rush to manage the game well and avoid making those big mistakes?
That's the question. He needs to be calmer and make smarter decisions than we saw last week. He has to connect with his other receivers, spread the ball around, and not force throws into tight coverage. If he can do that, the Cowboys have a chance. It's a lot to ask of Rush, especially with all the pressure of needing to win this game. But the Cowboys have always been tough, and they've shown they can come back from tough situations.
So you're saying there's still hope for the Cowboys even with all these problems they're facing?
There's always hope in football. This is a team with talent. They have potential. They just have to find a way to make it all work on Monday night.
What do you see as the Texans' biggest weakness, the one that the Cowboys could use to their advantage?
Their offensive line hasn't been very good, and they've had trouble protecting their quarterback. If the Cowboys' defensive line can put pressure on them consistently, they can mess up the Texans' offense and force turnovers.
So it sounds like a good defensive performance is going to be really important for the Cowboys to win this game.
Definitely. They need to cause problems in the backfield and make things difficult for the Texans' offense. If they can do that, it will take some pressure off Rush and the rest of the Cowboys.
Speaking of the Texans' offense, are there any players in particular that the Cowboys should be worried about?
Their running back has been pretty good this season. He's a strong runner, and he sees the field well. He's not easy to tackle. The Cowboys' defense will need to focus on stopping him from getting big runs.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
A good running game can help an offense a lot, even if they're having trouble overall.
Exactly. If the Texans can get their running game going, it'll open things up for their passing, and that could be a problem for the Cowboys.
So the Cowboys' defense has their work cut out for them. They need to stop the Texans' running back, pressure the quarterback, and get some turnovers.
Yeah.
That's asking a lot.
It is. But they can do it. They have a talented defense with some playmakers. They can step up when they need to.
It sounds like this game could come down to who's better, the Cowboys' defense or the Texans' running game. Who do you think is going to win that battle?
That's a tough one. The Cowboys' defense could be amazing, but they haven't been consistent this season. The Texans' running back is a tough opponent. He could have a great game if the Cowboys aren't careful.
So you're saying it's too close to call?
I think so. This game could go either way. It's going to depend on who makes fewer mistakes and who plays better at the end.
So we've talked a lot about the strategy of this matchup. But what about the other stuff? Like emotion and momentum. How much do you think those things will matter in this game?
I think they could be pretty important. The Cowboys are a team that seems to play better when they're feeling good. When they're confident and have lots of energy, they can be dangerous. But when they're feeling down, they have trouble getting things going.
And the Texans, how do you think they'll handle playing in Dallas on Monday night?
They'll probably try to use being the underdog to their advantage. They have nothing to lose, and they'll want to upset the Cowboys. The Cowboys can't underestimate them.
So you're saying this game is about more than just talent and who has the better strategy?
Yeah, it's about how they play and what their mindset is. The Cowboys need to play with passion and energy, and the Texans need to stay focused and disciplined.
It sounds like this Monday Night Football game has everything to make it a classic.
It does. It's a big game with interesting storylines, and there could be lots of drama.
What are you most excited to see in this game?
I want to see how the Cowboys react to everything that's happened. Will they fall apart under pressure, or will they show what they can really do?
And I want to see if the Texans can pull off an upset and shake things up in the NFC.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
We've talked about a lot of things.
Yeah, we've looked at the matchups, talked about the important players, and thought about the things you can't really measure.
We've talked about the strengths and weaknesses of both teams.
And we've made some guesses about how the game might go.
But ultimately, we don't know for sure.
The only thing that matters is what happens on the field Monday night.
So now we just have to wait and see.
Yep. Let's get this game started.
It's going to be a few long days for Cowboys fans while they wait for this game. I bet there's a lot of nervousness and excitement.
Yeah, I can imagine. This game is so important for the Cowboys.
What do you think is the biggest thing to watch for going into this game? What are you most interested to see happen?
For me, it all comes down to CeeDee Lamb and his back. Even if he plays, how limited is he going to be? Can he be that amazing receiver the Cowboys need?
That's a big question. And if he's not playing his best, then everyone's going to be watching Cooper Rush. Can he step up and prove people wrong?
That's another big story. We saw him have trouble against the Eagles, and now he's facing a Texans team that wants to show what they can do.
This game feels like a turning point for both teams. The Cowboys are fighting to stay in the playoff race, and the Texans are looking for something to turn their season around.
The stakes are high, and there's a lot of pressure. It's going to be interesting to see how both teams deal with that Monday night.
What's your feeling? Who do you think is going to win?
I think the Cowboys have a slight advantage. I think their defense can do enough to stop the Texans' offense, but it's going to be close.
I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down to the wire. This has all the signs of a really close game.
It's going to be an exciting night. Two teams that have something to prove, playing under the lights on Monday night.
It's been great talking about this game with you.
I've enjoyed it too. I always like these conversations.
We've talked about a lot. We've looked at all the matchups, talked about the important players and all the different things that could happen.
Hopefully everyone listening feels ready for Monday night.
Now all we have to do is wait for the game.
Goodbye, and see you in the next video.